Welcome to the Voices of the Sandhills Oral History Project. My name is Joe Talarico, and I'll be your host today. It is April 9th, 2025, and today we are coming to you from Media Services recording booth at FTCC. My guest today is Christopher Thrasher. How you doing today, Christopher?
I'm doing great. How about you, Joe?
Doing pretty good. Can't
That's
complain.
Good to hear.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us today. Well, I'm certainly happy to listen to anything you'd like to tell me. I'll mostly ask you some questions about the Living Law Project. And as our listeners probably already know, the Living Law Project at Fayetteville Technical Community College is an interdisciplinary group of scholars who produce educational materials and host public forums which focus on landmark court decisions. So, when you're not busy with the Living Law Project, what do you do here at FTCC?
Well, I teach history and political science. I'm also a faculty archivist, so I help out in the library with some of our historical materials. And I am the founder and director of the Voices from the Sandhills Oral History Project. So my many little pet projects on campus.
Nice. So usually the interviewer has now become the interviewee today.
My general rule is that I refuse to be interviewed. I'm like, no. I want to hear everybody else's stories. But I felt like with this one, for one thing, just completeness, because I'm a member of the project, and as a historian, I want to be very thorough about my historical record. And then also, if I'm asking other people to sit down and tell me their stories and kind of reveal about themselves, I feel like I should make an exception to my rule and subject myself to the same interrogation that normally I deliver onto other people.
Yeah, it's always different being on the other side.
It
right?
is. It's very different.
Now that we're kind of reversing the roles here, so you kind of touched on this a little bit.
Yeah.
But when and how did you get involved with the Living Law Project?
So the way I got involved is Mary, who was library director. Now she's dean something or whatever. She got a big promotion anyway. Mary DeRicio. She invited me in very early on in that first year, and I had already worked with her. I was already kind of working in the library as an archivist a little bit and helping there. So she and I were already working together. And initially, I thought it was going to be kind of a one-time deal. And somebody, I think, at the public library had said, "Oh, we're thinking about maybe doing something at the public library about the Miranda decision when the anniversaries of that decision was coming up." But yeah, I got brought in initially, and I think it was her. It was Mark Grabowski, who's the head of the paralegal department. It was Vaughn Locklear, who taught paralegal. I think Jeff Sack may have been involved. I can't remember exactly when he came in. But so they brought me in very early on. Mary just thought I would be helpful and kind of had some ideas about what maybe I could do.
So you were involved pretty early in that first one, and just kind of giving that historical perspective a little bit.
Yeah, I think the idea was, well, we're doing a historical case. Maybe we should have a historian to make sure we're kind of being true to the history. And then my own historical interest, my own scholar, I'm interested in lots of things, but I'm certainly very interested in legal history and true crime history. I teach American national government, so I was very familiar with the Miranda decision. And then also they had the idea that they were going to film make a little short film, which you produced, and they thought, well, Mary says, well, this guy's got a good voice. Maybe he could be the narrator. And then they were going to have a public forum. This guy doesn't mind standing up on stage and herding cats, and that kind of thing.
Right.
I'm a teacher, so I'm used to being up on stage and kind of directing the action. So they said maybe we can get him to narrate the film. Maybe he can be up on the podium and do the kind of guide the public forum. He'll make sure the historical accuracy there. Really, what I think it is, and I think kind of how this group has come together. It's just been people saying, who do I want to work with? Who do I like? Who does good stuff? And then kind of figuring out the rest of it later. Like, I'm going to bring in good people and we'll figure out what they do down the road.
Gotcha. So your roles really it's kind of been a multitude of roles throughout these last 3 years, you would say?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I love about it is it's different every year. I can tolerate almost anything except boredom. I am very easily bored at the point at which I've done something once. I kind of don't ever want to do it again. Like I've done it. Like, no, I figured out that puzzle. I don't care. I've done it. It's boring now. The second time is boring in many cases. So even in class, like I never teach. I'll never teach the Miranda decision the same way twice because I'm always kind of. And part of it's because I'm trying to make it better. Part of it's because I'm just a easily bored child with a short attention span who has to change things just to change them. So yeah, the first year I came in and I was the narrator on the film, and I was the moderator, and then kind of helped with historical accuracy. The second year, I was very happy to hand over the podium as the moderator to David Sullivan, who's our lawyer here on campus. And then I was the narrator that year. And then the third year, this last year, I really just worked behind the scenes, and I really got to do more of kind of the writing of the script, and kind of even helping you. And I'm so grateful I've been able to do that. Those of you here in media services, you people really do magic. I mean, it's really pretty cool what you do. And so to be behind the scenes and kind of be behind the camera with you and kind of see what y'all do, and help here and there, hopefully help a little bit. Yeah, it's been, and I have no idea what I'm gonna do in year 4. I can't wait to find out. I'm sure it'll be different.
Right. Yeah. And and that's that's one thing that being behind the scenes. That's one thing we talked about.
Yeah.
Is that like I like having you around for that perspective. It's I can make the pictures pretty, and I can make the sound good, and I can convey this message visually, but am I saying the right message? And that's where hey, we need the subject matter expert here to keep us on track.
Yeah, and I won't claim to be an expert on anything, but I'm always happy to provide my humble opinion, and if nothing else, just being a second set of eyes. There was, and I can remember several times where you were setting up and you're doing a scene, and I'm kind of looking over your shoulder and I'm saying, well, here's a thought, or should we change that? What do you think? And sometimes those are good ideas, and we make a little adjustment. And sometimes like no, that's part of the process. We're good,
right?
But no, I very much kind of enjoy being part of that conversation and working behind the scenes. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been great. And so what kind of along those same lines. Do you have a favorite part that you've done so far in the Living Law project?
Yeah, once again, I love the variety of it. I think probably the part I like best is I really like working on the script, and I think that's because I'm a writer. I've written and published 4 books, or co-authored three that I did by myself.
Okay.
But writing a screenplay or writing something that's going to be turned into like a film is very different than me writing like historical monographs.
Right.
So I probably love writing more than anything else in the world. I love lots of stuff. I have a good life. I get to do lots of fun stuff. But more than anything, I think I love writing, and this is a different kind of writing. And then I get to be part of this great collaborative team that kind of writes a script, and then I get to see it actually come to life.
Right.
Which I don't ever get to do. I have not. I would love to turn one of my other books into a movie. Hollywood has not called yet. Maybe someday, probably not, and that's fine. But the idea of writing something and then watching people act it out in front of me,
right,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's neat to kind of see it. It jumps off the page, literally.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And then the actors will put their own kind of spin on it. Mm-hmm. So I'll write a line one way, and they'll deliver it a little better, and I'll think, I like the way they delivered it. That's even better.
Right. Yeah. Because how you read it to yourself is different. It's just like, well, that works.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and then the way I would have delivered a line is going to be very different. What would sound natural and wonderful coming out of my mouth would sound ridiculous from another person.
Right.
So them kind of conveying maybe the same idea, but having to use my vocabulary and my inflection and my accent. Yeah, that's probably of the roles I've had, that's probably the one I enjoy most.
All right, excellent.
Yeah.
What has been the most challenging aspect of the program for you?
Yeah, the most challenging. So, well, I'll tell you what. If it's okay, I'm gonna add something here.
Okay.
So definitely that's the part that I've enjoyed. In terms of my role, I will say the part that I have enjoyed about the project, the whole thing that I think is the coolest about the project, more than anything, is Living Law is my tribe. These are my people,
right.
and I work. There are wonderful people all across campus. There are other people across campus that are involved in Living Law that I do other things with, and I have other projects I like. Living Law is by far my kind of favorite group on campus. Because it is interdisciplinary. It's people I wouldn't normally work with. It's people kind of outside my department. It's people outside the ranks of faculty. We have a pretty equal mix of faculty and staff people, which is really cool. And I look forward to those meetings all the time, because what happens is that we have this, and because you're part of this group, mm-hmm. is we have this group of people, and we all kind of have our area of expertise. but then we're all kind of team players and we're all very flexible.
Right.
And everybody is just very, very smart. I mean, it is a very smart group of people, very talented people, very hardworking people, and then very kind of irreverent. Like we kind of go in Mary's office and we shut the door and it's understood. You can say whatever you want. So somebody will pitch an idea and people will nicely, with collegial spirit, tell them why it's a terrible idea and we shouldn't do it.
Right.
And nobody gets their feelings hurt. Everybody just kind of accepts this is the creative process. We pitch ideas. Some of them are great. A lot of them are stupid and terrible. And I've certainly have had ideas that, as soon as it came, if somebody's pointing something out, I'm, slapping my forehead and saying, yeah, that's a dumb idea. Or that's unworkable for some reason. So the idea that you can do it, I thought once the Living Law Group is maybe the most honest place on campus. Because I think we all just say exactly what we're thinking because we're motivated on that. So yeah, Living Law, this combination of smart, irreverent, talented, funny people who just kind of tell you what they think. Not a lot of people can handle just brutal honesty, but this group can, and I just love it. I love the group. So anyway, but go back to the question you actually asked me, not the one I wanted to answer. You asked me a much more difficult question about what's the most challenging thing. And it's such a great question because my inclination is always to kind of be upbeat. Like even in the classroom, I want to be upbeat. I want to be encouraging, and I really kind of hate being negative. But you've asked a fair question, so I'm going to be a little bit negative here. The hardest thing is that while we get overwhelming support from our community and our college and our colleagues, there are critics.
Yes.
There are critics. There are people that, even if they like the project as a whole, there's things about the project they don't like, or things that we feel very strongly should be done a certain way, and we are told, no, don't do it that way, do it this other way, and then how we navigate that. And I'll give an example. I won't mention a name, but I will give an example. So the first year, nobody had ever done anything like this on campus. I don't think there's some really great programs out there. I don't think there's anything quite like Living Law really anywhere out there. It is a unique thing that we're doing by combining kind of a short film, docudrama, unsolved mysteries kind of style of film with educational materials and then this big public forum. It's a unique thing. And so that first year we said, well, let's do it on a faculty staff work day, and that we were not interfering with classes because, we are a school. We should probably teach classes, right? That seems like we should probably teach classes. Yeah, and we do.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that involved here.
Yeah. And so I was in a meeting, and the person leading the meeting said, hey, does anybody have an announcement, anything, you want to share or whatever? And I said, hey, we're doing this thing. And we I don't even think we called it Living Law at that point. We're doing this thing about the Miranda decision. And we're gonna do it on a faculty work day, and we really want students to be there. So, please bring your students and encourage your students. And there was somebody who doesn't work here anymore, but I still won't name them, who very much scoffed and said, you're not going to get students here on a non-class day. Students barely come to class, was basically their attitude.
Right.
Like they're not going to come all the way to campus to come to your silly little thing. Like it was very much kind of scoffing and kind of mockery that it was just such an idiotic idea. And then one of the things that's really hard about critics is that sometimes the critics are right.
Yeah.
And I know this from, my own writing. I just got feedback on a book manuscript, and some of the criticism annoyed me and was dumb. Mm-hmm. And some of it was like, oh yeah, absolutely, I should have done that. Yeah, this person's right.
Right.
So I feel like you have to listen to the critics. And there was a valid point there. Students don't typically come up here unless there's a class.
Right.
So, and then it kept me awake at night. Like I'm putting so much time and effort in this, and I love this so much. What if we do it and students don't come? And if we're doing all this, and it's fine to do community events, but if we're doing this, we're a school. If we're doing it and the students don't benefit, we've missed the mark.
Right. Yeah. Kind of off the target there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then we were all, I think, just terrified because we were going to do this. We had the Cumberland Hall Auditorium, which is this big auditorium, and we get ready to do it. And we're like, what if nobody shows up? What if it's like 3 people? We've invited Judge Ammons.
Right.
And what if nobody shows up? What if he's talking to a room of like us and 2 other people? What if there's decent faculty staff support, but no students.
Right.
What if this critic is correct? And here's the thing: the critic was not correct.
Yeah.
Because we got really good and we didn't do a great job that first year of kind of taking attendance or whatever. But about 25%, it was about 200 people, and about 25% of that group, about 50 of them were students. And I remember looking there because I was terrified this person was right. And I remember looking, and I was the moderator, so I'm like walking up to the podium, and I look out there and I see 50 students, and I say.
Yeah, in a packed auditorium.
In a packed auditorium, standing room only. Never done anything like this before. And I remember the words of Teddy Roosevelt in his wonderful speech in the arena, and he goes, "It is not the critic who counts." And the toughest thing is sometimes the critics are right, but with living law, they haven't. In my humble opinion, the critics have not been right so far, which is terrifying that eventually they will be. But so far, so good.
Yeah, I mean, I think our batting average is pretty good at this point.
Yeah.
And and as you know, I came into that first one late, just as hey, I'm the guy that made the little film.
Sure.
And wasn't involved with all the other the process of the planning and the event. I showed up that day to live stream the event and to eat a hot dog.
Yeah.
And I know we talked afterwards, and I think the first thing I said to you and Mary was, I've done a lot of these events over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
This was the best attended event I've seen in a very long time. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it was something. It was eye opening from a guy who works behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Attends these things as as a worker.
Sure.
But yeah, it was great to see that kind of turnout from our students and the community by and large. So
absolutely, and then I think there's kind of a great lesson there of if somebody is listening to this and maybe they are thinking about trying to do something, they have an idea on our campus or another campus or whatever, they're thinking about trying to do something, and you're hearing those critics, and those critics are kind of in your head. Yeah, listen to them because sometimes they make good points, but don't let them keep you from doing what you want to do. Remember what Teddy Roosevelt says: "It's not the critic who counts."
All right, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about that? About the challenging aspect, or
no? I think I'm good with that on the challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty well covered there. I think.
Yeah.
Do you have any other stories that you want to share from your experiences with the project? Since again, you've done a few different roles now throughout this process. So anything else you want to share with us?
I do, and I have several. I'm going to do just one for sake of time because I don't want to keep us here all day. We can come back and do a part 2 someday maybe. Sure. So I'll tell you a really good one. So for this third year, we're doing Alonus VUS, and we do this very informally, and so we don't do like a formal casting call. We don't really have any real actors. It's all just people that are in the group or people we know. And so we're sitting around the room at one point, like, okay, so Anthony Alonis, who's the heart of this case, he has to be a character in this thing.
Right.
And like, who do we know that looks like Anthony Alonis? One of the people sitting there is Joseph Westerndorf. And listener, if you've never met Joseph Westerndorf, you should meet him. He's a wonderful, wonderful person. Yes. Just a delightful guy. He is the kindest, the sweetest, the most soft-spoken guy that I think I know. He is and he's one of our community partners. So he is the local history librarian at the Cumberland County Public Library. Delightful guy. And he has a big bushy beard. And I have a beard, but I have beard envy of Joseph. Because Joseph's beard is better than mine.
It's impressive.
It is an amazing beard. And we said, well, Joseph, if you Joseph without the beard kind of looks like a lot like.
Yes.
And we're like, would you shave? He goes, yeah, I'll shave. I'll shave the beard. We're like, okay, so he's going to be, we've never seen this guy act. He's this soft-spoken. And so we're at Mary's house filming. And he's there, and he's shaved the beard. So without the beard, he looks dead on for Anthony Alonis. You put a picture of him and Anthony Alonis together, I defy you to tell me which one is which, because they look almost identical. It's crazy how much they look alike when Joseph doesn't have the beard, which he generously shaved for this.
Yeah.
So I think the first scene that you filmed, it was him, and he is confronting the actor playing his wife.
Yes.
And as part of this, the marriage is really going south and all this. So once again, you've got this sweet, kind, polite. I mean, just just well-mannered to an absurd degree, just such a delightful, sweet, nice, soft-spoken guy. And then you say action, and we didn't even have like we kind of wrote a script, but like we didn't have like line for line. It was kind of like these things you could, because we want to be improvisational a little bit.
Right.
And he just goes from 0 to 100 in a split second. He goes from like Mr. Rogers to like I don't even know who to compare. I mean, he was yelling, and he's like slapping the table, and he's wagging his finger, and then and then you couldn't even use the audio from that first one because we were all in Mary's living room, like looking over his shoulder, and we all died laughing.
Yeah.
It was the craziest thing, and we all looked at each other like, "What the hell was that?" And then Joseph, as soon as you stop filming, Joseph goes back to his sweet, kind self.
Yeah. We actually had to like tell him like, "Hey, all right, stop smiling and laughing." It was like he like flipped the switch.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. And then he did another scene which was also crazy, where he is arguing with like FBI agents.
Yes.
And it was just crazy to watch him go from just the sweetest kind of guy to this raving, angry, threatening lunatic.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. And it was the way out, like, are you have you? He goes, no, I've never acted before. This is just, and it's just because he is a smart, talented guy that just kind of throws him into stuff. And I think that's so much of what you see in Living Law is people that are, smart and talented, but they're just going to go for it.
Yeah, they're in on it. They're on board and ready to go.
Absolutely. And then I think there's a lot of trust there because we all feel like we can just give something a shot, and if it's bad, it's okay. Like we're just going to say, yeah, that was bad. Like we're recasting Alonis.
Right.
And it would have been fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, watching him go from like 0 to 100 and scream at poor Shelby was just hilarious.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, as the guy putting it together, I had a little reservations about that at first. Like it's like, yeah, Joe's like the nicest person I've probably like ever met.
Yeah.
It's like, and now he's gonna be like this lunatic who fights with his wife and like makes bomb threats.
Threatens to shoot up a school.
Right.
I mean, all this crazy stuff that Alonis did.
Right.
And we've got Joseph doing it.
Yeah.
And he did great.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. It was complete 180.
Absolutely.
And just amazing acting job that he did.
Yeah, it was. If you could imagine Mr. Rogers like entering the professional wrestling ring and taking on Hulk Hogan and trash. If you could imagine Mr. Rogers trying to play Macho Man Randy Savage, like it was nuts. It was so good.
I feel like we need to get him a little Randy Savage bobblehead or something next time we see him.
It was crazy. It was nuts. I loved it. Yeah, there's other stories, but that if that's not my favorite, it's got to be close to the top.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably go on for the next couple hours about this. Is there anything else that you want to talk about today, with the Living Law Project?
I think what I want to say, and part of why I want to do these oral histories for a couple reasons. Part of it is I think we have so many great stories, and I think it's great to preserve them just as a history, because I think we're kind of doing a neat thing here. And it's good to document it and kind of preserve it for us and for other people that may be interested down the road someday. And then part of why I want to do these oral histories is I really hope they will inspire people. I hope that there are people here at FTCC, at other places, that maybe they've got a crazy idea. Maybe they know some people, they've got some friends, they've got some colleagues, and they've got kind of a nutty idea, and they're afraid it won't work, or they're afraid they're going to make an idiot of themselves, or they're afraid it's going to flop. And listener, I'm talking directly to you. I'm talking to the person right now who has a crazy idea, but you're afraid to give it a shot. And I'm telling you, give it a shot. Try it, because you may fail. It may not work. It may not be as successful as Living Law. It may be way more successful than Living Law. And the thing is, you don't know till you try. So if you got a crazy idea, get a group of, get your tribe together. Get a group of kind of random broken toys together, and just give it a shot and just see what happens. And we've done it with Living Law, and I couldn't be happier about it. So that would be my final message: is just give it a shot. We did, and we're glad we did.
Couldn't agree more with that. So if there's nothing else, Dr. Thrasher, I'm going to thank you again for taking part of the Voices of the Sandhills Oral History Project and kind of reversing roles.
Absolutely.
little bit today.
Yeah.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning in and joining us for the Voices of Sandhills Oral History Project.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Dr. Thrasher.